Ayo, it's podcast time. Let's do it.
I think. Man, I think we're on, man. We're live.
Oh,
We're live and direct.
all right.
Um,
I'm in it.
we are back with another edition of Corner of the Circle. I have with me a jack of all trades, a Renaissance man, a lover, a fighter, a competitor. Uh, there's not a lot of people you can say that, you know what, man, I think Nathan's done that. No, I think he's done that. I think he's done that. He's one of the few people you can say, dude, I think he's done that. A lot of people talk about doing it, but not a lot of people do it. This is one of the few people that I've met in my short few years on this earth that actually has done damn near more things than I have. I'm like, you know what? I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever done that.
It's a weird facet of it's mixture of ADD and just life circumstances.
So we have with us Mr. Nathan Lowe, my friend.
up?
I am super excited to have you on.
It's been a while. I saw you. What was the last time? It was
Arnold, bro.
Yeah, it was the Arnold.
Arnold.
Ugh, I like the Arnold, man, but the bathrooms freak me out. There's always like a brown puddle under the urinals because all the dudes, they're bronzing.
Yeah, man. I will.
Close to home.
I never use the public bathrooms at the Arnold.
Really, you ain't live, man. You got to take risks.
Let me tell you, when I'm telling you straight man to man, I am Captain Hold It when it comes to
really,
dude. I will not use an Arnold bathroom. You could not.
I like using a public bathroom. I don't mind it. It's you're taking a step into that world, you know.
I will say
it's good, man. You know what? Let's turn it into a meditative practice. You got to be comfortable.
I don't know that I'm
got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, LS, man.
Well, then there's no way. The Arnold is one of those things I would rather use, and I will go on record saying this. I would rather use a public bathroom in the middle of Tokyo, Japan, than use the public bathroom at the Arnold. There's no way.
That's gonna be the new like woke meditation flex is like bragging about being able to get your 30 minutes of transcendental meditation in like a public bathroom.
I can't. You know what? You can start it. That's your trend. That's gonna be on you.
That actually might be funny, just so a picture of this doll.
Dude, so what's been up, man? What's been up with you these days?
Yeah, a lot of stuff. I'm been moving. I just moved again to a new place here. This is why I'm a little sparse. But I'm in Los Angeles now. I've been in Los Angeles since July, but now I'm in a better space. Now I've gotten my talons in, and I feel like I can,
That's awesome, man. Like
yeah.
How long you been in LA, like total?
Since July, so I moved down.
So you've been in LA for a little bit. So were you up in you were in NorCal before that, or?
Yeah, I was in San Francisco for the last 3 years. Yeah, man. San Fran for 3 years. Went there right after college sports. So I went out there. I was with the Cal Strength guys for 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, and then Kelly Starrett them out after that for the following two out there. Those guys at Mobility Watt, now the Ready State.
So so for those of the number that don't know,
uninitiated CrossFit type people, hi.
Okay, guys. So prior to all of the strength sports and the CrossFit and all that stuff, you're a top tier athlete, D1 athlete. D1 track and field athlete. Yeah.
It feels like a long time ago now. Like I'll see like Instagram will show you like old photos.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, that was a big person. And I'm not that anymore. So I'm like, I'm as small as I've ever been. I'm still like 245 though.
That's small. That's small.
No, I threw hammer. That was I was a national team in high school. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was a geek. I was a real like a nerdy, geeky theater kid. Like I was in musicals. I did all that. I loved it. Like
same.
Those were the homies. Like they were always the ones I wanted to hang out with for some reason. And I was a weird one.
Dude, I'll tell you this, man. For those kids that weren't a drama geek, or for those kids that didn't understand that side, my favorite time of the year, at least for me, coming up in high school, was when it's time for one act play. I mean, and so here in Texas, we have like the big one act competitions, and so my high school was, we were pretty well known for having a very good theater program. We had a very good theater program.
I noticed that the theater kids and those types of kids, they grew up a lot faster.
Yes.
So when you were popular in high school, if you were popular in high school, it's like, and you're 100% living in the moment. You are just driven by immediate needs. That girl's hot. I bet we could make out. For theater kids, so yeah, a lot of the times, like band kids too, like that wasn't an option.
Nope.
So then you have like 15-year-old girls that are already like listening to the Smiths and shit. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm time for change. You're like, what's that? And she's like, oh, you don't know about this whole? It's like, not that I'm a proponent of the Smiths by any means, but you see what I mean? Girls.
Oh
like
yeah, you have
like,
them that walk around listen to the Smiths, Morrissey.
Yeah, like The Cure, and they're like,
The Cure, yeah, man.
Get it.
Yeah, I mean,
so they were just more fun.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun. And of course, it was like you would have to live a completely different life, when you went over to the athlete side, there's no way you were ever going to go to a party and have both sides in the same space. Like, hey guys, I'll talk to you in a minute. Go over, kick with my drama kids. Or hey, I'll talk to you in a little bit. Go over, kick with the choir kids. Hey, I'll talk to you in a minute. Go with the athletes. I mean, so like you learn early to be a social butterfly, man.
That was kind of me, yeah. I like.
Yeah, so you're a theater kid. So what was your? I'm trying to think, because everyone has their favorite.
Where was the shift?
Their
my favorite.
Yeah, what was the favorite play that you did?
Oh, play that I did. Okay, I thought you were gonna ask. It's like, what's your favorite musical?
That could be number 2.
Well, that was the weird one actually. But the play I did. Let's see. There was my favorite one we did was this really weird iteration of Hamlet and Macbeth. It was called Dogs, Hamlet, Cahoots, Macbeth. It was like this really weird, dry British, like just nonsense play. And it just like it was one of the ones where it's just like we were just goofing off with it and just like going crazy. Like no one got it. It was fine.
But you got it. You guys got it, and that's perfect. All that matters.
Yeah, and it was just it was like an inside joke. But the big ones we did, like Annie, we did the Miracle Worker, all that.
Oh, nice.
But I was fully in. But my family has always been very athletic. So like my dad was a Mississippi State baseball player,
right?
Calls World Series team, all that shit. And my not shit. Very proud of him. It was really really impressive. I'd admit, I'm sorry. Sometimes it just comes out. You hang around comics for long enough, it's like I just feel like my mouth is it's horrible now. But
you know what? It is what it is.
It is. But something like my grandma follows me on Instagram. You understand? But like cousin played basketball for Ole Miss, and then my sister was the athlete. So like I felt comfortable hanging back doing that, and then she had all these big offers, and then senior year, last game of her season, she tears her ACL. Offers go away.
No way.
Yeah. So I was a geeky kid. I was already probably in my head way too much already, and I probably wasn't even what was happening. But in my head, I thought the family looked at me like, okay, now you gotta do something. You gotta get out there. Yeah. So I went around to all the event, like the little sports and stuff, and didn't like baseball, and I was actually having a really bad practice. Like I didn't get it, like I wasn't like they were doing like ground practice in this pavilion or something, and some douchey kid just goes like, you should go out for the track team. Everybody makes it. So I did, and it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
So you ended up on Ole Miss.
Yeah. So I made national team in high school. I was second in the nation in the hammer throw coming out of high school. I basically jumped full feet in, which is just something I do when I find a thing I like. I just obsess. So I went out and gained like 75 pounds in like a year and a half. It was just 6 hours of training a day, 3 in the weight room, 3 throwing.
It just got massive.
and then it's just, all you can eat barbecue every night after training. So just like, I got up to like 275.
Oh my gosh.
So I was at Illinois for University of Illinois for 2 years.
Right.
And I transferred down to Ole Miss, and then I was competing. Then I realized just there's no money in professional hammer throw because no one knows what it is. It's fine, it's cool, but it's a real danger in attaching your identity to what you're doing.
Absolutely.
and attaching your identity to your task. So like there's infinite rabbit holes all over. It's just something I noticed.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about us as humans, that there's anything you can think of, anything you just look at on the street, like bottle caps, whatever, records. Someone has dedicated their whole life
yes
to just that. Like there's a dude out there, he's like, you know what? Mustard seeds. And that's like his whole, he's got books on it. So there's like infinite things to nerd out on.
oh
And I
yeah
always just found myself doing it. So I nerded out on that. And then when I transferred to Ole Miss, the coach that recruited me, really high level coach, got fired literally the day after. It was a pretty messed up story. And like the day after I got signed, he got fired. And then by the head coach, who was just a maniacal dude who ended up getting investigated by the NCAA for like stealing scholarship money from athletes and stuff like that. It's real shady shit. And I was in a position where I didn't have the coaching staff that was necessary for like an SEC program.
right
But it's amazing now, like the program, new coaches, fantastic. Like the new people that they brought in after that. But there was a span for like 6 months where I was just kind of treading water, and I decided to just go full nerd on that side. So we used Olympic weightlifting as a supplement for our training, all throughout all the shit. I guess I did like 12 years of hammer throw. So that, I mean, even when I was in high school, so I was, 15, 16, and I had an Olympic barbell in my hands, I was doing snatches and clean and jerks.
So you already had a really good base.
Right. And so you're already nerding out on the technique. And when I nerd out on one thing, I nerd out on everything. So it's like these old Russian training volumes from like Yuri Sadiq and Litvinov and these guys talking about doing closed grip snatches and all the sets and reps for Olympic lifting workouts. So I was just in it. I was in it. And then I started a company my junior year of college while that was going on, called Sweat Equity Performance, where I just wanted to talk to just the smartest people in the room.
Right.
And so it was, we did a cross-country road trip from Atlanta to Los Angeles and stopped at these, Olympic training centers, NFL combine centers, and just tapped these guys' minds. And then I met Dave Spitz out of California Strength. So I'd followed them for a long time because I was training in college. So I followed the YouTube page and stuff, and it was cool that they made it like, it almost felt like a reality show every week. Like just the way that they followed the lifters and the way that they still disseminate like really good information.
They
like
put out they always put out some of the best content, and they just had some just dogs, man. Like, and I was, I was never a big, Olympic lifter, obviously, but when strength sports, it's like you can't, at least in the States, you can't go too far without you recognizing California strength. Like that's just, you know what I mean? And like that was weird enough when I really started paying attention to strength sports. Toward the end of the pro football stuff and at the beginning of the powerlifting stuff, I had a couple mentors. They would always mention Gail Hatch, Cal Strength. And if you just want to get a good base, Gail
Hatch method. Hatch was the shit, dude.
And it's weird because people sleep. They sleep on a lot of stuff that Hatch did. They sleep on. There's a lot of.
It's just like I know people don't like Louisiana. I don't.
It's just if it were anywhere else. It would have based out of Texas. It would have based out of
Illinois. They're just like, these guys, they don't get it. They put wrestling. Why they got wrestling alligators as a rest set? What the fuck is that?
What is that about? So yeah, man, I remember, vividly. I'm like right now, hey, you know what? You need to look, starting strength. Look over Gail Hatch. Look at the Cal Strength guys. If you're really trying to, dive into the stuff, like these are 3 awesome resources that that can help you out. So I looked in a lot of that stuff, man, because you learn different things, obviously, from different parts of strength sports. But the thing you learn about Olympic lifting is, you can go hard, but at some point there's a high level of recovery that happens that you don't necessarily see. Right. But that's the reason why these guys can keep going every single day. And so for me, I try to master the art of, even now when I program for my athletes, I'm really trying to master the art of programming around the recovery rather than just hammer.
Well, these guys, that was the biggest difference with the Cal Strength crew. So like they did post up for like the casual Olympic lifter, but when you get in there and you're on the team, so he invited me out to be on the team after college, and So threading vein through all this has been comedy. So like when I
Right.
grew up and I was doing the theater stuff, my parents gave me this DVD set of A Night at the Improv with like all the greats,
Oh man.
Robin Williams, Stephen Pryor, all that stuff. So I immediately, like 11 or 12, was just obsessed. To get into that
Absolutely.
theater, I was in like the North Atlanta School of the Arts, that theater program. My
Yeah.
audition to get in was a Bill Cosby bit. It was there's a bit from Bill Cosby himself where he was just talking about going to the dentist or something. It was just all this
Yeah.
crazy act out stuff. I mean, you know, he's a monster, obviously, but I didn't know. So
No, you didn't. No one
it was
knew.
really funny. It was funny at the time. Didn't know that he was just a real like a demon.
He was, yes. There was a
But
point in
they
time.
did it.
There
He
was
was a
there
good
was a point in
audience.
my time where I was listening to R. Kelly in the background as I watched Bill Cosby special. Like I'm just
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of a demon sandwich here, ladies and gentlemen. So
Dude.
like I just, but at the time you don't know, it's just like, you know what? That's some damn good music, and this guy's making me laugh. I'm gonna roll with that. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah. It was always something I was obsessed with. And then it when it came time, like in college, I was a broadcast journalism major. So like
oh,
media
awesome.
always just being very curious. And then I went to journalism school. I was like, this seems like a good, to get a degree.
Yeah.
Seems like a good thing to do.
Right.
The higher up I got in the journalism program, the more nasty I realized it was. And like how the news systems actually work now, it's not so much about actually informing people, it's about directing people.
Yes, yeah, yes.
And that's a really messed up thing, especially for people that we're supposed to trust. So I got to the end of college, and now Hammer's ending. You have to win like 2 world championships a year and just hate your life to barely scrape like 80K as a professional.
Right.
So then Cal Strengths right there, and it's like opportunity, sponsorship, stuff like that. I already know how to do it, and I get to continue living the dream of just training full time, which is like, at surface, like that sounds great, but then you realize you're 6 hours every day, and then the rest of your day is about recovery, and it's about it can get dark.
Essentially you're a slave to your craft.
True, but it can get dark if you're not fully invested. If you're not fully in love, now your time not in the training hall is spent on your phone looking at stuff from the training hall. And it's what we talked about earlier. Anytime that you find someone who has invested their life into a rabbit hole, you come across the danger of letting that be your identity.
Absolutely.
And those guys get real combative, and when you do anything to poo-poo their sensibilities of what they feel like training day should be like, whatever, it's a whole, it feels like you're attacking them, and it's not true.
Well, it gets really dark really fast, because I mean, all of one's energies are pointed toward one specific thing. So if your energies and your passion are pointed toward one thing, then clearly your emotions are going to be wrapped around that as well. So I mean, one can't help but feel attacked, even if that's not the intention. So what I want to dig into, is that I want to dig into the comedy a little bit more, because that's something that I chased for, I want to say all of 3. I think I did 3. One was more, I just kind of stood up and talked, but I actually made
3 times. I'm in my head like 3 years. 3
no.
months.
I'm talking 3 open mics, which I should say two attempted comedy open mics, and one where I just kind of went up and talked. Everyone thinks they're funny till they realize they're not.
First time.
What was that
on you, and all people are looking at you like, oh, like baby birds, and you're like,
yes.
Oh, I don't have bread for you.
Yeah, like what was that first time like stepping on stage?
I was lucky. I was lucky because I had a lot of prep time. So I told you, it's like I've been obsessed with stand-up since I was 11. So from that point forward, every comedy special that's come out, whether it was dog shit or whether it was gospel, I saw it.
So you're saying whether it was Dane Cook or Bill Cosby?
You'd be careful, sir.
First of all,
because Dane Cook was for his time period.
I will tell you right now,
the systems that he did and what he did with MySpace and his style of comedy.
Without a doubt. Listen,
so there's a lot of misconception around this, and I actually want to clear it up. There's a lot of different types of comedians.
Right.
And energy comedians get a hard they get a hard rep because we see them where we see them on a screen. So like, I keep talking about disgraced comics today, but Chris D'Elia is one of these guys. So it's like you see him on Netflix and you're like, that's dog shit. Like that's just really trash.
But I love
Walks
it.
out like his first Netflix special. I think he did it like a I look like joke. Because it's like, oh, what, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
And but when you see it live in a room, you realize that it's an infectious thing that they're doing. It's low-level hypnotism, and it's a skill all in its own.
Right.
Because you cannot deny that he killed in those rooms. Like,
Absolutely.
You cannot deny he killed at the Comedy Store where it's like it's supposed to happen. He killed there. He went on the road. He killed there. He had a fan base. He killed there.
There's a reason why he has a special.
Same thing with Dane Cook.
Yeah.
So it's like he would mix like all this crazy physical stuff with just weird words that he would pull in. But I mean, there was craft there. And it is funny. It is funny and it stands up. But because he's an energy type guy, people, and especially like comedy nerds or whatever, they'll be like, oh, well, he's not enlightened and he isn't, he's not, watching the greats and writing his volumes.
My thing,
like, no, he's doing his job.
My beef with Dane Cook has always been it didn't age well. And that's I don't
look at who people say are the greats. Like look at Lenny Bruce bits and tell me that ages well. Comedy ages out. Comedy's a fluid thing. Like there's a few things that stand the test of time, like Pryor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, next girl you have, wait, are you in a relationship?
Of course.
Okay. What do you mean, of course? I don't know. Were you last time? I get it. Look at me. I'm single.
Oh. I would assume a strapping young fellow like yourself would be in a relationship.
No, dude, in Los Angeles, no. I just got here. Give me some time. I'm still.
Wait, what did Dane Cook call it a relationship? Listen, dude.
Someone shit on the coats. Yeah,
dude, I will say this because I'm not knocking Dane Cook. I think I'm mad because he didn't last longer. And it's not that you're supposed to last.
Well, you know why he didn't last longer, right?
Yeah.
He did 2 movies, and then his brother, who was his manager, stole all of his money. And his dude got wrecked. So I mean, it's like some people like to write comedy from a dark place. And that's not his style of comedy.
No,
you saw in his last special, he tried to talk about like his dad dying and stuff like that. And it's like
that one hurt.
He's an emotional guy, and you can't. There's people who can take something that traumatic that happened to them, and they can frame it in a way that is really just kind of dismissive.
Yeah,
and it works. But when you feel that power, it's like people are in the room to laugh.
Right.
And you can have if you're gonna give a nice message, just do a TED talk, just like do write a blog, man. Do something that's not what people pay tickets for.
Yeah. I always like to this day I was always so angry. And the thing is like I think when you're a comedy fan, when you're like a super comedy fan, I think you start and I guess you should, because you start having these personal attachments to your favorite comedians. And I mean, you see them when they start, especially if you've been fortunate enough to see them like when they're, doing the small shitty clubs.
Now, by the way.
Hey, listen, let it evolve. Let it evolve.
It's been a long week.
When you see them start and you follow them, it becomes personal. And you really want to see them succeed. And when you see them start to succeed, like, this is awesome. It's not that he's successful. It's we're successful.
Right.
And then
it's not like there's not this famine. Yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden when you don't see him, like I think that was my biggest thing with Dane Cook was that I couldn't see him anymore. And of course
comes to the defense of the energy comic, because there's enough haters in the comedy community. Like when the stuff happened to go like, oh, his act was trash anyway. I'm like, no, you're just happy you got his slot.
Like, don't like there's no denying that, especially in the MySpace era, for a good 4 years.
Yeah.
4.5, maybe 5 years, Dane Cook carried comedy, man. And I'll openly admit it, because there weren't a lot of headliners. I mean, there were a lot of headliners. Obviously, you had your mainstays, but there wasn't a lot of people just, knocking down the doors and, willing to, damn near murder people at Ticketmaster for their Dane Cook for their tickets. Dane Cook was selling out arenas, bro.
Legit arenas, man. He was like one of the first guys to do that little circle stage in the middle.
Yeah.
But the point I was trying to make was like I came in. Sorry, just got a little lost in.
No, you're good.
Off on a tangent, but it was what was I saying? Oh yeah. So like I came in with foreknowledge, not just from nerding out on stand-up and
Right.
like just like when I'm like long travels, when I was on the road every weekend
Right.
from track, because there's an indoor and an outdoor season. So
Right.
during college, I was on trains every day, I was on planes every day. I'd just be soaking up conversations just with comedians, like on
Right.
podcasts. So it's like feeling that way. And then also the only thing I think was ever the constant with different sports that I've done, and I did sports after Olympic weightlifting as
Right.
well. I competed with the Gracie team for jiu-jitsu at Open Worlds
Right.
last year and loved nerding out on the sports, but the best aspects were always fucking around.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was the jokes, because it's like when people go through hard stuff together, it's like the military. It's like when people go through a really brutal environment, they're hilarious.
Yeah.
They're hilarious because this is how we connect as people. You do anything to break the tension to where you can still stay focused. So like when I was in high school, I'm training with these insane Russians. I think I was just addicted to just being in weird, crazy scenarios.
Right.
Because the places I would find myself with these guys were always nuts.
Oh yeah.
Like weird, crazy thing. Russians are insane. So from that into the jiu-jitsu world, and these Gracie guys, these Brazilian dudes are incredible, phenomenal people, like highly evolved too. Just like like the way that they perceive the world, it's really, really beautiful. Finding like a high-level jiu-jitsu performer, like from the way that they attack and lust after life is really, really something.
That's awesome.
But it was like comedy was always the constant. So when I was in San Francisco, over in the inner Richmond. So I didn't know this at the time, but the place that I went up for stand-up my first time was next door to a place that didn't exist anywhere, but that was where Robin Williams started too. So he lived in that area, the tunnel over to so it was like his stomping grounds. But I didn't know that when I was living there. So I just liked the Presidio because it was in the city but not of the city. So it was like this national park right at the end of the Golden Gate Bridge, and I'm from the south, so I could still just like hear birds and trees and shit, and it just made me happy. But I went out to this one spot just because I like to play pool there. So while I was at University of Illinois for those 2 years, there was a probably 1 year span where I was paying rent with pool, just because I found it and I was nerding out on it, and I kept going to pools. And there was a mom, don't pay attention to this part. There was a strip club 0.2 miles away from my apartment my freshman year of college. And that's a real tough thing for an 18-year-old to deal with. And it was called the Silver Bullet, which is like, in retrospect, not like, that's what you used to kill monsters, right? That's not a good strip club name.
Not a good sign.
But they had a pool table in there where all these old pool hustler guys would just play. And I learned from like those dudes when I got to SF, there's this hole in the wall Irish pub that had a pool table. So I'd go there after work. I'd be with Kelly all day, just running up hills with sandbags and talking to Navy SEALs or whatever. And I just wanted to feel, it's an amazing world. Like people who are in it full time, like they're like, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be in a red light sauna, and then I'm going to take my antioxidants, and then I'm going to meditate, and then I'm going to go run a business, and then I'm going to, make sure your desk is standing up, and I got my stand-up desk here. And it's like, it's phenomenal if it completely fulfills you. But I got to the end of my days and I'm like, I still kind of want to do some seedy shit.
Right.
I'm not that, but like,
I get you.
I want to be just like an old Irish pub with these old iron worker guys talking and just drinking PBR and playing like, and it just like, it fulfills, I think, that hole that I had when I was in that training environment constantly with just real blue collar guys. Like I worked construction when I was doing high school and stuff.
Same.
It's like I that was how you made money. I worked for an all-American, a company called the All-American Concrete Company. I was the only American that worked there. I was the demo guy. So I just I'd train and then I just go break cement and pour. But it was like those guys I always really connected with because those guys always had the best stories and they were always
man, there's
There's
blue
something
collar
about
stories,
yeah.
man. There's something about it, you know. And so
Yeah.
obviously, you know,
And
it's an
it's that
opportunity.
accent too. It's like, and I would have, but I just didn't give a fuck. And I went in
Yeah.
there and I told him I'd blow her head right off. And you're just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like,
I just asked if you wanted to go get a beer after this. Yeah, like so. Yeah, like and so you had an opportunity, obviously, after training all that stuff was over with. Like, you know, there's that want, that desire, that need to like unplug and
right.
you know,
So it became
not
this
necessarily
habit.
remove yourself from the situation, but to unplug and replug into a completely different community, because that's what it is. It's a different form of community, and you know, you get a chance to run the table,
Absolutely.
make a few greenbacks in the process, and
Yeah.
I mean,
So it was the move. So it's
Yeah.
like when I was in San Francisco, I was with the Gracies, so I was with their team training once a week, and then rolling every morning, and then doing Kelly stuff during the day, and then at night just playing pool and doing that. And then one night they had a stand-up night, and I was always making the bar staff laugh, and like these
Yeah.
guys. So I was lucky. A lot of times when people, like, their first time they go up, they just like they Google like open mic near me, I
Yeah.
guess, or whatever. So I had always put it off. I always thought like I
Yeah.
will start at some point, but I've been
Same.
writing, and
Yeah.
it's like,
and it found you.
and then I was just pretty drunk already, and I was playing pool, and I already knew everybody there. And then they said, like, you go up, and I did like 10 minutes, and I was only supposed to do 5, and just because I was an idiot, and like the poor guy was nice enough to bring me up without even knowing who I was. Like the boss was like, he's funny, bring him up, that fucker. Like,
That's awesome.
It's like, you don't understand, like this guy right here. And then I started doing it, and then the second after, it's the same thing that's happened. Like, I only started throwing hammer because someone told me I couldn't, or it was like when I went to the national team practice and I didn't take to the hammer technique because like the guy was explaining to speak English or whatever. And then I was so frustrated because he said, this guy will never be a hammer thrower, that I went home and I duct taped a 12-pound shot put to my hands and did turns in the garage until I got the technique, because he wouldn't give me a hammer to take home with me. So I needed the weight in my hand. And I did thousands of turns until I figured out, it's like there's something, like a switch that goes off in my brain when I get that endorphin hit. I just have to.
You're built different,
Yeah.
my friend. You are built different, and that's
It's
that's what it's about.
I did that with jiu-jitsu. I did it with Olympic weightlifting. So it was national hammer, national weightlifting. I went to Open Worlds for jiu-jitsu last year. I just have to be doing something or I go crazy. But the second I got that, like that up on that, like for some reason, and I pulled out some stuff that I had like already kind of previously written, and it just slaughtered. And
so you already had him in the chamber ready to rock.
Well, I just been thinking about it forever, but it was always never the right time, or I was doing other stuff that interested me, and I was like, yeah, but I do this, and I'm training at 4 a.m. in the morning, and it wouldn't make sense to go do that. Second, I just shut up and did it. I realized that it was kind of the amalgamation of all of it. So with the journalism, being able to observe and just be super curious, like it's always been what's driven me from one thing to another. When I see a weird rabbit hole, I go, oh, I need to know everything about that. And then that combined with the work ethic from the sports world, and just like all I ever want to do is make jokes then anyway. And now a plethora of just incredible stories from the people that I've been lucky enough to meet, traveling around and doing all of this.
Absolutely.
It all shifted. So the second I got that first hit, I'm still trying to juggle everything. I'm juggling Kelly stuff, amazing work that they do over there.
Right.
I'm passionate about that side still.
Right.
I was juggling that and trying to be nationally competitive in jiu-jitsu. And then, but the second I went up on stage, I was out every night. I got in with a group of comics there when I got linked in with the comic community proper.
Yeah.
The kind of rule was that the only club in the city that was worth doing stuff at is the Punchline.
Right.
So everyone would go there every Sunday. So the guy who runs it, this guy named Ron Vi, I never got to know him very well. I hear he's a great dude, but I showed up. I'd just been doing the mics around my area for like a month, but I was going up 2-3 times a night, just finding stuff around. And all of the comics would say, like, you got to go to the Punchline on Sunday.
Right.
So all the comedians in San Francisco would go to this spot, the Punchline, and then I guess it was some kind of kiss the ring system, which I'm used to from coaches. So I'm used to like coaches with this weird kind of soup Nazi mentality,
Yeah.
like if it's not my way, fuck you.
Right.
But when I got there, they said, yeah, you have to come every Sunday and just watch for 6 months before Ron will even consider putting you up. And at the time, in retrospect now, like, you know, almost 4 years later, of course it makes sense
Right.
to do that, because if you're just starting out, like you don't have material, people paid money to go there that night.
Pay your dues, bud. Yeah.
Like people paid money, and like paying the dues is important. But at the time, I was so in it, and I had the entrepreneurial side from like the sports world and stuff all happening to me simultaneously. When I went there, some kid, just some newcomer Rocky kid, because at the beginning, before the doors open, all the comics just hang out outside and smoke cigarettes because they're degenerates.
Right.
But like Ron would come up and everybody, it's not like you sign or anything. You just have to go 6 months and just hope that he sees you.
Right.
And so I'm already a little weirded out. And then this kid comes up and makes some kind of offhanded comment like, oh, it's bullshit, like 6 months. Like, what do I have to do? Suck a dick or something? And Ron's gay. And he just said, that's another 6 months.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So the second that hit my ear, I was just like, I'm just going to do my own thing.
Right.
So I started seeing these like shows in the city, and then getting a little merry bands of biking pages together. And there were nights, Sam McGavern, Billy, Ernest Evangelista, like all those guys. We just load up in a van, like a Sprinter van, and we'd hit seven a night. So like that first year, and I would go back home to Atlanta, and I'd be doing clubs in Atlanta. So it's like the club, those rooms, like doing those two different places simultaneously was crazy, because Atlanta comedy it's black comedy. It's it's what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
And black comedy it's some of the best writing in the world. But the thing is,
You can't.
Absolutely. You're not going to be able to go up there and just read your diary.
You got to fire the clip.
If you are not funny right away, and
absolutely,
you will get. Especially, like, I was the only white guy in those clubs.
Yes.
So I'd go up, and it's like, I audibly one time I went there. I hate doing places where they serve food. But I stepped up on the stage, and I heard the fork clink, and I heard someone go, "The fuck?" Like, it just didn't make sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So I learned the style of writing. I mean, fortunately, we got sports teams all the time. Like being on a track team, not a lot of white dudes.
No, you're gonna be one of the.
Yeah. You gotta have. Like I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yep.
Mom was a competitive like funk and disco dancer back in the day, so I grew up with that sister competitive basketball in Atlanta. That was just like, it made sense. So I started with that style of comedy. When I brought it to San Francisco, it was like, it was woke.
Yeah,
people got it. Like people were smart. Like it was like good crowd, and I would just load these dudes up for like 2 years, and we just hit. And then when we start doing shows, we broadcast them with each other. So like, I do a show at this hour, you do the show the next hour, so everybody can do each other's, and then we go do mics after until 4 a.m.
That's awesome, man. So you just honing that craft over and over.
And San Francisco is a small enough city to where you can do that, and hanging out with comedians is one of the best gifts in the world. Like, they're my favorite people. They're insane. They're absolute psychopaths. But the stories that you get, just the community of hanging with them, like, and people like guys who have dedicated their life, especially in the open mic scene, like the first couple of years, you're like, oh, it can get dark quick to see the kind of personalities that it can draw. But if you do it and you write a ton and you just, I don't know, I don't want to. Everyone does it different, but I loved it, and I got to the point where, like 3 years in, while still like juggling these things, I basically got to October of not 2020, but 2019. I was so upset and stuff like this, and the Starettes, they understood, and like all that. It's just where my life was going. and I just started doing comedy full time, in like booking shows and doing that all around San Francisco. But at the same time, not posting anything about, because all of my was like I hate when people say my following.
Yeah.
Like they're all sports people, so it's like
Right.
people I've met at events, like the amazing people in all of these weird sports worlds. It just didn't make sense to advertise it, but also since I've been studying like comedy for so long, I'm telling them always goes, oh, the craft of the joke, but still, I mean, it is an art. But I knew that I didn't want stuff out there that it wasn't done yet. And I knew from hearing comedians talk and from hearing like thousands of hours of people talking about it, comedians talking about other comedians, it's like one of the big dangers is putting your shit out early when you're not good.
Yeah,
you
man.
you don't understand the facets of like working a room and being able to move your act around depending on what's going on.
Right.
Crowd work and not having expectations and figuring out just how to be comfortable and have fun. So I was lucky starting out because I'd already been doing podcasts forever. I already was doing like day-long seminars for Olympic weightlifting.
Right.
So the presentation side of it was never a big deal. Me feeling comfortable talking in front of an audience was not a deal, but it just became about the writing and making sure that it was as good as it could be. And
so like I guess, I mean, I have so many questions, because part of me is like, man, I wish I could have just kept doing it. But there comes a time when you realize, like, you know what? There's a reason this is an art form, and there's a reason why there's a lot of people that attempt the art form, and very few of those lot that perfect the art form. A lot of people try.
There's an interesting thing. Like I thought about that too, because like when I told my family, like I'm doing the comedy, like, it was mixed. Like they're very supportive. Like my family is super cool. There's a time when they're like the same kind of questions like any good parent will say. Like, they're like, well, only like the top 0.01%, make it.
Oh, yeah.
The interesting fact about that is like, because they're thinking about it, and a lot of people think about it when you just say that, because it is a true statistic. They think about it like the NFL or like the NBA or professional sports. Here's the thing about comedians. We don't all have an NBA, NFL work ethic. So the playing field's different. So like Tim Ferriss talked about this a lot too. Is like when he was cold calling these celebrity people and getting emails, he would say people assume that 0.001% isn't accessible. So then the lane's actually pretty wide open.
Yeah.
Because everyone's assuming that it's impossible, this hard thing to do. So that if you go in and not expect things, don't clout chase, make it about the comedy, and you're only there for the comedy. And like, so for my first 3 years, I wasn't asking anybody to be on anything. I wasn't doing it. I was just so happy to be getting time in.
Absolutely.
That's so that it gets to where if you come at it honest, comics get you. They get you. The only people that get smoked out are like actors that just want to pretend to be comedians, or people that think that like it's some kind of clout chase thing. Yeah. Like I want to talk to this guy because it's like, no, you want to talk to him because I like hanging out with you. Yeah. We're fun. Like it's funny. Like it's just it just feels so pure because it's really just a meritocracy. It's really awesome, can you get asses in seats? Do you do your job? Do you connect with people? Are you comfortable? And there's a big, like I sometimes I'll hear, because I just need to work on like my stage presence. Like, no, you just need to be comfortable.
Absolutely.
Because there's plenty of comedians who are successful who are uncomfortable, but they're comfortable being themselves on stage.
Okay, well, here's a question, and I've always wanted to know this. And honestly, I almost reached out to you. Oh man, oh God, it had to been. It had to be like 6-7 months ago. I was watching it. I don't even know which comedian it was. I'm pretty sure it was Jim Gaffigan. And I'm just watching him, watching his delivery, just watching him do it. I mean, if you can, true, you could never step out on the stage and be a huge comedian, comedy fan, and really see how just how these guys are just masterful with their art. But I'm sitting there and I'm watching Gaffigan, and I'm just like, this dude he is killing it. He is absolutely killing it. And I mean, I can't really remember even what he was actually talking about. I just remember just being in awe of his
So
just
that's a state, that's a symptom of it, because like when it's done purely, like when someone kills so hard
so hard. It's
and live,
seamless.
especially like any kind of live thing,
Yes.
what it does is it's a low level hypnosis. So there's a
Yes.
moment when you're killing with a crowd, and it's like, I hate when like a young can be like, I'm 4 years in, but saying that like you killed, like there's been a few instances where it was very true, and
Yeah.
it feels weird. You have gotten this entire group of people to think the way you think
Yes.
for a certain amount of allotted time, and they're caught with every little, like any emotions that you feel on your face, it's
Yeah.
punctuation marks. It's almost like they're feeling even the subcontext of
Yeah.
what you're saying, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's really really heroin. And
Yes, that's why
and
I guess that was my question. When
yeah,
you're killing it like that, because clearly he was killing it, and I can't even tell you what he was talking about. I just remember everything he said. I was in stitches. Like the
yeah,
way he walked, the way he talked, his facial expression, the way I remember he's walked I remember he was walking stage right, and he stopped, paused, did one of these, and just went stage left. And I don't know what he said. I don't think he said anything at all. I just remember I almost threw up. I was laughing so hard.
well,
I got
that's the weird thing when you're like you're laughing so hard you don't even know what you can do, and
oh
then you
my
get in the car,
gosh, dude.
and you're like, he was amazing. What did he say?
I've listened to Gaffigan so many times over the years, and it was like some of his, it wasn't like recent stuff that he did,
But
but
when you think about, yeah, that's
I
the crazy
remember
thing.
I remember I watched it, and I'm scrolling through IG, and you had posted something about you being on stage, and I just wanted, like, I remember I wanted to ask, like, dude, what is that like? And I mean, because comedians, I've heard it so many times, I've read it so many times, like it's
There's
it's
oh,
addicting.
so it's weird. So the first couple years, and this is why most comedians drop out or most fall off and most don't make it, because the first year or 2 years, unless you have crazy circumstances, like
Mhm.
there's obviously things like, even if you are very funny, it is going to be time just to meet the other comics, because for the most part, the mics that you go to, which is really the only entry level way to get a tape. So like if you want to book a show and it's someone that you don't know, like it's not your comedian friend, they
Right,
need you to send a tape and you have to be in front of an audience. So that's a hard thing for people when they're
right,
figuring. So you go to all these open mics so that you can connect with comedians and you can work out your material in front of them. But that's a very different kind of crowd. Those open mic crowds, it's full of comics who are just like you, and they're in there, they're probably thinking about their set
yep,
or their judge yours. And a lot of people drop off because they don't get the input that they need from the crowd to be able to fix their shit.
right,
So like the big thing that I noticed that in San Francisco, and I noticed that because of the way the punchline was set up, it just didn't make sense, because like
right,
the comedians were all in the back, but the comedians that were punched at the punchline, they all just hung out with each other. And there wasn't really, it's like the mics went on in the city and the
right,
shows were separate. And there wasn't a lot of opportunity for younger comedians to commune with experienced ones and share knowledge,
right,
which is so huge when you're skill building. So like when you're like just thinking about it from the perspective of an athlete, like when you like I've been lucky, so lucky. The only reason that I had any modicum of success in throwing, lifting, jiu-jitsu, any of that is
mhm,
because I just happened to fall face first in front of the prophet.
right,
Like I'm like Olympic lifting, I was with John Coffey, like one of the best Olympic weightlifting coaches in the nation, been to Cal Strength, and then having a phenomenal like Mike Judge throwing deep, all of these amazing throws mentors that I've had through. I didn't feel that in San Francisco. Like I felt like I was doing all these mics, but I was like, oh, these guys are just doing what I'm doing.
right,
And it was fun because it's still people that are, open micers, like we're still having a great time. But I'm like, I need to be with comics. And
right.
started these shows where I would run a legit show for like A-level comedians upstairs, and then 30 minutes into that show, I'd start a mic downstairs. So then there's traffic. So it's like then the older like community guys, they come down and they're fucking around. They're actually hanging with micers in a way that they don't feel like they're better than or threatened. Just a way to where we can hang out and community and actually build a community where people who've been in the game for a long time can help those that are funny but still need to learn the little things, like the little aspects of controlling a room, aspects of like just being able to look at the world and being able to talk to comedians makes your life so much easier, because these are all people that are trying to find the absurd. Like they're trying to find.
That's so.
So when we're telling stories, it's like just the kind of input that you can get from your friends and the kind of input that you can get from people around you is always going to be so bizarre. And that in and of itself gets your mind working.
Right.
And so I got to the point where I'm doing these shows, everything's going great. I'm living on comedy, and I'm running these shows out of this Irish pub in San Francisco. Like, so that's not that same place, but their sister one, there's a place called Ireland's 32. It's like this old IRA bar.
Right.
And I was doing shows out of there. And then I was there so much, just like bringing all these comedians in, and basically I turned it into like the unofficial comedian hangout. So basically at the end of every night, they would all come here, and I like knew the bartenders, we'd play pool, and I just have 15, 20 comedians in this like old Irish pub, awesome, and just till 4 a.m. telling stories, just joking around. And then, and it was a great community. And then COVID happened. And San Francisco, if you haven't heard, little woke. So everything shut. So there were no shows. There were no mics. Like since then, the community, like they've done some stuff, like they're creating some outdoor shows and stuff. But right at the beginning, like that precipice, gone. Right. So I had this place at Baker Beach I told you about earlier, like nice place, but all 3 of my female roommates fled. They heard about COVID. They're like, I'm gonna go see my family and kiss my grandmother and stuff like that. And so they all left. So I just had this big place to myself. So for the first, when did it happen? March?
Yeah.
So from March to June, I just had that big place to myself. And so every day I just be in my living room, and comedians would just come over to my house, and like I'd be sitting on the couch and I'd just see like a case of White Claw or something just hover from the window, like an offering. Like to come in. We do, podcasts in there, like joke around, but it's not the same when you get that, like being able to actually perform and build material. And when you get into a system to where you're writing really consistently and you're going up every night, multiple times a night. And now, like at this point, I was almost 4 years in, and I'm like, I have like a good 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes that I've just been writing during quarantine. And I'm like, this needs to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like a lot of those things were crowd tested, like these need to go out. I can't just sit on them. And it's, especially since I don't like use social media in that function, or hadn't at the time, it made sense to make the move down to Los Angeles. So
that's awesome, man.
The underground scene here is really something else. And again, just like with sports, just like this, the real trend is I got lucky. Yeah. I got here to LA, and just basically I said, I'm going to LA. Like, and in a week, just decided, packed my shit up, found a place on Facebook, like just an impossibly good thing, like impossibly good for California. I don't know where a lot of your viewers are, but $800 a month for a place in West Hollywood is insane.
That's insane.
So I just said, all right, I'm doing it. I'm going. And then I moved there. And then there's a place that does a very undercover open mic every night of the week. So there's somewhere I can go just to get ideas out.
Right.
And then my first week there, just some comedians I knew in the community invited me to a 4th of July party that was just all established comedians in Los Angeles. And it was just awesome, like comic people that have been doing it for a while, people that were hooked in with the community, and not going in with any like, hey man, like I was wondering if, like, just being a comic, just hanging out, having fun, goofing off. I met amazing people. And then the different levels that you're talking about, like what it feels like to be on stage, is very different at each section. Like being on stage when you're an open micer is hell. It's hell. Like but when you have comic friends that you dig, and it's like when the whole place is just your buddies. There's nights where it is incredible because you're just making each other laugh.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and it's there's a different level of community there, but those jokes aren't gonna fly.
No.
Because those jokes, we have to go so extreme to make
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that.
And like a lot of these guys, they'll go and they'll book a show, and their first 10 jokes are all just about raping babies during the Holocaust or something.
Yeah.
Something really absurd, wild, like this, something that would make even a comedian go, oh, fuck.
I forget the name of the comedian, man, but I was listening to an interview, and he's like, you get a lot of comics. I think he may have been talking about Ari at the beginning of his career. He was like, Ari Shaffir was the type of comic he wrote jokes for comics at the beginning, and but when you listen to his early material, completely evident he was, a lot of his stuff was like it's a little over the top, and I mean, but I think he spoke on how Ari was one of those that he wrote a lot of his material for comics. He's like, and it's a very slippery slope when you write material to make comedians laugh, because
it's hard to make it's like if you like a real comic compliment, like open mic nights when it's all comics in the crowd, I do a really weird thing and I can't help it, and it sounds sarcastic, but I swear to God it's not. I'll go, ha, that's it. Like if it's, I just like, I'm all day, like I obviously will get tickled and stuff, and I will be like crying laughing, but if something's just like a clever thing that hits my ear, I'll just go, ah. And it sounds mean, and it's not, and I swear to God it's not. But like a lot of times the best compliment you can get from a comedian, if you're just like telling a funny story, they'll just go, funny, or just like, that's funny.
Yeah.
If like a high level, like I've had some really big comedians, like we're just hanging out, fucking around a room, that's go, that's funny. I'm like, oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Feels good. So but doing like those, that has its own kind of feeling, those open mic shows. And then when you start having material, like you have 20, 30 minutes of material, you can start doing shows.
Mm-hmm.
And those, like, if you have what you think is 20 minutes, that means you have 10. And like for the most, like, people when they're first starting out, like you'll hear comments like, "Oh, I have an hour." I'm like, you don't. You have 5 minutes. Because the crowd is both easier and insanely more complicated at the same time.
Yeah.
So they're coming in already expecting to laugh. Comedians are expecting you to suck. Because they're just in their head. They're just like, oh, yeah. Suck. Like, even if they come into it with the right mindset, like they'll hear a premise and then their brain will just make a punchline. And then they hear yours and you're like, ah. But then when you have an audience of people who are not comedians and don't expect to be, and they just want to be, entertained, the jokes that you didn't think were there probably still aren't, but they work. And you can read that off of an audience, and it gives you time. So like when you're on stage as an open micer, you're just everything, just word vomit. But then when you get in front of people and you aren't used to waiting for laughter to die down, and then figuring out how you can connect those ideas in the same kind of linear pattern, it's a different kind of animal. So it's easier, but also much more complicated.
Right.
So it's easier in that jokes work easier. People who came in to pay to like see a club, that they want to, if you can connect with them as people and you can get them bought in, like there you go. But the timing of figuring out how, like, you can't go in with a set and just going, I'm telling these jokes in this order. It's like, no. So it's like, I like for all of my things to kind of be able to connect to each other.
Yeah, you got to string them
in this nebulous way, so that at any point I can pull from any of these different areas.
Oh,
and
man,
it's a weird way to think, like I have like these, like this whiteboard here, just main ballpark ideas. I always keep this guy in my pocket, and then my phone does other stuff. So it's like there's like 20 pages or 20 seconds of just scrolling on that, and then these, and then that, and then things will disseminate from the phone to where they get written, and then they get bullet pointed.
They make it to the big board.
This is the set, for that week
Yeah.
or whatever, and then you circumvent them out. So I got lucky because when I first moved here to LA, I still had a spot. If there weren't any shows that night and I couldn't book anything, I can go get the ideas out and I can just put them somewhere. And then recording, I put my phone in my pocket for each set and I hit the record because I have a really auditory memory. So like growing up, any movie, like it's like impressions, something like that, if I've heard it once, it's usually there.
Yeah.
And I can mimic it. So I just write ideas down in here. Sometimes I'll write them verbatim if I know that that's what works with a crowd.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, while I'm working out a bit, it'll all be I get the ideas and I work it out on stage just as a conversation with the audience. And then when I'm on my way to the next show or the next mic or I'm going home, I'll listen to it and then I'll correct it. Like, well, this worked there, that worked there.
Yeah.
This one didn't, and then try that out the next night. So it's a mixture of both like writing on stage and writing at home. But when I got here to LA, I had a place where I could do that.
Yeah.
Because I linked in with these really great comics early on, and it's the pandemic, and people who sucked are gone already.
Right.
And it's people who don't have skin in the game are gone already. It's that if you're in the scene now and you are actively like doing the underground thing and finding shows, just that like I'm doing stuff for these people in like the Beverly Hills, like their houses, there's options.
Right.
You're bought in like that. Older comedians and stuff like that respect you, I think, faster. So I got lucky to just kind of get rocket shipped.
I love how you keep saying I'm lucky, I get lucky. All I'm hearing is you're putting in the time, you're putting in the work, you've been putting in the time and the work and the effort. Brother, that's not luck, man. I mean, there's a little luck here and there, but I'm a firm believer in the work, the grind, the respect you put out to the universe. It's going to be repaid to you tenfold. And I just feel like the work that you're putting in, you continue to put in, the respect that you have for the game, you're treating it like, you're treating it like, an artist would treat, any piece of fine art. You respect it. You know what I mean? It's, so while it's awesome for me to hear like, oh, I got lucky here. I'm like, brother, that is not luck. I'm listening to all the dotted I's and the cross T's, and I'm hearing, we're not talking about months. We're talking about years now that you have in the game. You know what I mean? And you're continuing to grind and grind and grind. And it's, again, I'm hearing, luck, but I'm also hearing this.
But it's a mixture though. So it's a mixture of putting in the work and respecting it, but also not taking yourself too serious.
Absolutely.
Like, because that's like the kiss of death. So like, yeah. And I've always been lucky in that I got to be around people who were the top in their area. So now that I'm here in LA, it's like, and I'm hanging with these comedians that I've been watching on TV and this forever. It is surreal, but if you can just be you and you can not put any expectations on anybody and not expect like people when you see somebody say, oh, they're going to do something for like my career, like this beneficial, like this friendship will use, like, fuck all that.
Yeah.
Just shower love on people and be like, and you. Like, I don't know, did Jeff die? I've been doing, I opened for Jeff at the Mandalay Bay in Vegas last month. And it was the House of Blues, was the biggest rooms I'd done. Right. And it's one of those like rubber to road moments, like where I've done these shows where I'll do like 10, 20 minutes and like mostly for shows like 20 minutes and then, middle, like, so there's your opener gets, 5 or so minutes. Your middle act, or opener gets 5 to 15, middle act gets 15 to 20, 25, and then the headliner, who's like a veteran and has been doing it for like 15 years, they get a long set. And feeling those different rooms I was doing the mic stuff and then doing show stuff all around San Francisco, shows that just people put on, and then doing some clubs in Atlanta. So then now, like, Jeff, who's an amazing dude, we just clicked immediately. The dude just loves comics. And I was hosting this show out at El Cid with just this psychopath booker, and she's a mess from head to toe. Was just like trying to make out with the comics, like not paying people. Like it was the worst.
Yeah.
And I got
Good stuff.
It's just weird circumstance.
Right.
Like a guy that I had done a lot of stuff with in San Francisco, Xander Beltran, really funny guy.
Yeah.
I had let him crash on my couch like a couple weeks before, because when COVID happened, he just said, fuck it, I am subletting my apartment and I'm living on the road. And he's just traveling between New York and Massachusetts and like Arizona and just doing comedy just out of hotel rooms and crashing on people's couches.
That's what's up, man.
So I let him crash. Then he's back in town and says, hey, what are you doing? I was like, I'm hosting this show. And then he's like, can I bring Jeff Dye? And Jeff Dye, an amazing, like, late night regular, Conan regular. Dude was like last comic standing.
Yeah.
So like the dude's in 15 years, the guy is legit.
He's a real deal,
as it can get. It's like, can he come through? So he brings him to my show. I get him a guest spot, get Xander one, and then we just click. We just start hanging out. And that's the best thing about comedians is it doesn't really matter what level anyone's at. If you're a comic, comics get you. And if you're like a peer and you're not one of those comics like you're on all the time and you can just be a person, like it works out.
I think a lot of what you're saying, it's gonna resonate with a lot of people. But I think you're one of the I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people, man, but I think a huge thing, a huge quality that you have is you know, I mean, you've had a lot of success. I mean, on so many different platforms and so many different areas. But throughout it all, I think one of the biggest things, at least, you know, from the time I've had a chance to get to know you and have sit downs and just kick it with you and just listen to you just crack jokes and shit, has been you have mastered the art of being yourself no matter the situation. And that's a quality that, while it should be considered a skill, I see it as a quality that not a lot of people have, because based off of whatever the situation is, the people in the room, you know, the finance, whatever it is, a lot of people tend to lose themselves, you know, based on the stimulus, whatever.
So that's I owe all that to stoicism. So,
yeah,
really. So this is, it lives by my bed. Like, so I have a religious family and I am a Christian. So I will hit the good word, but my other is Letters from a Stoic, Seneca.
Yeah.
And
that's what's
all
up, man.
of his talks and teachings, it's cool. Like Seneca's dope because he was basically like Elon Musk, but in Rome. So he's like, he was advisor to the kings, like understood everything, was, you know, he was the man. But the thing about Stoicism was that they had to speak in the common tongue. So like all of his stuff, like these very complex ideas, they're written, like you could exchange the name Achilles or whatever for Bob and it makes sense for 2021. Right. And all of his talk is about that. It's like, and it just became something that just kind of settled in my head, is not being reactive.
Mm-hmm.
So like I've taken a fair amount of psychedelics now. I was in San Francisco for 3 years.
I mean,
I had a requirement. I had a really stupid thought that stuck with me. And it is really involved. It's really changed and altered the way that I perceive the world around me and the way that I interact with people, especially. Is like someone said to me, it's like, don't, like the golden rule is treat others as you want to be treated, right?
Right.
So if that's the case, then the platinum rule really is treat others as if it is you living a different life.
Mm. And
that resonated and hit it home. Like I'm a big nerd too. So you play video games? You play a lot of video games?
Of course. Come on now.
Okay, so I'm an RPG guy only. I don't play shooters. I was competitive for so long and through all these different avenues. When I got home and I wanted to play video games, I didn't want people calling me, you know, the F like tag or whatever. Just like, I didn't need it. it. And it's like, so I wanted to just isolate and put myself in some weird world,
different world. Yeah.
Nerd out on alchemy and like any kind of thing. So I love those. But what I noticed was, if you nerd out on anything long enough, you're going to look on the online forums. It's just something that happens.
Right.
And for player versus player games, like Call of Duty, all that stuff, if you look on the online forums, it's mostly shit talk.
Absolutely.
It's mostly people say, like, you don't understand, like, it's done this way, fuck you, like, it's done that. And if you look at the online forums for RPG player games, so it's only one player, you're the only one there. It's all love.
Yeah, man.
100% of the information is actually information.
Right.
It's like, hey, man, I was there, I almost missed it. That chest, it's like 3 miles over, and it's under a rock,
dude. You
and it's like, here's some cool shit that you missed out on, and you got to find it. I'm like, why wouldn't we treat life the same way? So instead of, it's not me versus you, it's not me competing for this thing. It's like, we're all playing the same game from a different starting point. As far as whatever privilege or whatever the fuck, it's like, yeah, you got that set, but it's not gonna. But you still have to play the game. So the point is, it's if I'm gonna live my life, why wouldn't 100% of it be about just sharing the cool shit?
Oh yeah.
And when I see people that I like in the past would be argumentative with, and I still argue just because it's fun and just because I like being a little contrarian and stuff like that. But the heart of it is that if you're just me living a different life from a different start point, even if we do disagree about something fundamentally, and you can see the argument from their perspective, you forgive them.
Oh yeah.
Because even if you know that it's just somewhere, it's like, oh, they just haven't beaten that level yet. They haven't figured that out about themselves yet. So I'm just going to shower with love and hope that we can like figure it out. And it has really changed the way I don't get offended. I don't care. It's like, I don't have expectations going into conversations because I get to just enjoy you for who you are.
Right.
And if we disagree, I'm okay with us disagreeing. And it's not going to affect the way that I see you even a little bit.
I dig that.
That sounds preachy, but
nah, bro, I dig that. I dig that. I dig that. Dang, man. I want to keep this thing going forever, man. I need to shut up. So what I'll do is I'll run you through because I just want to hear what your thoughts on do a little word association, man. One word association. What comes to mind? The first thing that comes first word that comes to mind when you hear the name, because you know what, we'll do a comedian version. We'll do, yeah.
Let's make it fun. Yeah, sure.
that's it. All right. So
give it a theme.
We'll give it a theme. All right. I'm not even gonna do my top. You know what? My buddy, he sent me a bunch of these, so you know what? Give me these. All right. So, oh man, these are some good ones. He did some good ones. All right. First one up, Jon Stewart.
Dude,
It's not it.
Literally, when you said Jon Stewart, I just thought Blazer, because I just remember I don't like to think about Jon Stewart as he is now. Like I don't, not that I mind him now or like the sideshow or anything like that. But when I think about him, I try to think about him as a comic. And all the videos that I've seen of him were in the 80s with these big shoulder pads.
Yeah, the big shoulder pads, dude.
Pad and the Blazers. So you were like, Jon Stewart, like Blazer. What?
He and Ellen DeGeneres, those early.
Yeah, but she had other reasons for those shoulder pads.
Obviously,
she hadn't come out yet, and she was trying to figure out how to tell people. And the shoulder pads were like it worked for Hillary. Like she looked.
I mean, oh man, oh my gosh, dude, he went in. All right, here's one. Wow, I never thought about.
It never occurred to you that Hillary Clinton's a lesbian?
Oh no, sometimes, maybe.
Sometimes,
maybe. I don't.
No,
I don't
you're
really
right.
know, man.
I'm sure it's a loving relationship between those two murderers.
I don't even. To be honest with you, I never.
Hillary, I'm sure they just have some great mission.
You know what? When you think about it, yeah, I guess. Because I honestly, I've always, I don't know.
She rode with him sometimes to that Epstein Island. You don't think she was getting a massage? Come on.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Come on.
He
Let's
can't.
get real.
He can't talk anymore. He can't talk anymore.
No,
not Bill. Oh, Billy knows. Billy's gonna go the way of Epstein if he.
No,
he
just actually can't talk.
Oh no.
It's just, it's just been years and years of just dating a reptilian.
Oh, I feel bad for that man. But then again, you know what? You choose what it is. Okay, we're gonna go with Johnny Carson.
Goat. I mean, that guy. So I resonate him with in a little bit just because I host a lot too.
Yeah.
So big into presenting, and I love like bringing my friends up and like encouraging and like showing people things. Like I'm just a sharer. So if I like food, I have to get you to try it. If I like a song, I'm gonna text it to you. Like people get annoyed. Like I can't even fully enjoy a video on my phone unless I'm showing it to somebody else.
Oh yeah.
And I'm laughing.
The experience must be shared. Johnny freaking Carson.
So Johnny Carson was a sharer. Like he brought comics into the forefront and was really the first person to be able to pull someone out of obscurity and give them an international and national.
Johnny Carson made stars. He made a lot of stars.
He did, and he did it when he didn't have to, and he did it with edgier people that he didn't have to bring on. And he aired with Mitzi and the Comedy Store and created this system of comics through like 30 years where they were being crafted here with the right kinds of crowds and then going and doing road work and then building up and then now Carson.
He really kind of developed a farm league, so to speak, you know, through, you know, which is, I don't know, man. Johnny, God, dude, hey, Jason, shout you out, bro. This list is wowzer. Here's another dude.
He did the job of being personable and funny and curious and had a taste for good comedy and really shaped the way that America discovered this art form, which is really what it was.
Yeah, he's definitely trailblazer. Here's a good one. Joan Rivers.
I don't know much about her.
Joan, dude, she was
I know she's the best. I know.
When you get it, it's, you know what? It's weird to say. It's been so long ago. When you get a chance, you know, I mean, in your busy life, if you get a chance, Joan Rivers, she was
a chance. I told you, I literally ingest everything. So I'm surprised.
Joan Rivers was.
When you said Joan Rivers, I was like, I've seen her work and I've done it, but I haven't developed full opinions.
Oh, here's one. Oh man, yeah, it's goat. Golly, there's some good ones. He sent me with some. These are all goats. Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah. So same deal. Rodney was one of these guys that, like, he had Rodney Dangerfield, like with his show and the people that he brought on, he created a lot of careers too. And he was such a quirky, like it came, like he found the gap between this, like, take my wife, please. Like,
man.
Like that kind of almost feels like vaudeville.
Yes.
Right. So it's like the way that he perceived things, but he was also one of the first captains of Not Give a Fuck.
Oh,
at the end of his career, he just lived in a bathrobe and he would just go to all the shows, all these things. He'd just be in a bath, like his dick would pop out. It would be just Rodney being Rodney, and like with Caddyshack and all that, just kind of captured his essence. Like he was a big baller who just also looked like, you know, he might be Steve Buscemi's dad.
Yeah, like I think they were talking about how Rodney Dangerfield, how, you know, for a while they were like, he started comedy. I forget what his 9 to 5 was, but he went into comedy, didn't work out for him, so he quit pretty much for like 4 or 5 years, and then came back, you know, like in his 50s and was killing it. That gives me hope. So maybe one of these days I'll
just
get
had a couple of all it takes is a couple experiences that'll change.
Yeah, man.
Kind of see the world, and then that sticks.
Here's one of my favorites. This is actually good. Sarah Silverman.
I love Sarah.
I love Sarah Silverman.
She's great. She was she's one of the comedians that even like there's this weird thing. I don't know if it's misogynism. I don't know if it's just there's this thing that goes around that says women aren't funny, and it's true, but sorry, I couldn't help
it. Was there. It was there.
Yeah.
It was
I
there.
couldn't help myself. But Sarah is is one of these people, like, even when you ask, like, they won't classify her. A lot of times, like, you'll mention like a female comedian, and then like, yeah, she's funny for a female comic.
Yeah.
Or she's this, but no, Sarah Silverman is just a goat. Like, she is just a great comedian. And I hate that it happens, but a lot of the times, like, even up and coming girls, and it's just kind of a weird symptom of just the psychos that are male stand-ups. They just go like, well, she's funny for a comic, because there's a lot of girls don't make it past those first 2 open mic years just because they're smart.
Yeah.
Like I told you, it's like those first like couple years, like when you're starting out, like that's hell, and you have to be really unhinged to want to go through it.
Oh yeah.
Or the ones who do fall into these categories of like girls who go up on stage and they want to turn it into therapy, and it's just like, you go through, they just like say fucked up shit that's happened to them in their life and expect to laugh, or it's they tell jokes that works in front of some of their girlfriends and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But women, like, it's just the human brain is always it's going to work out. It doesn't matter if you're a man, doesn't matter if you're a woman. People are infinitely talented in infinite ways.
Right.
It's the same way that guys can probably get away with some locker humor, like some like just dip jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just because other male comedians hang out with them, they'd be like, oh yeah, that was funny. I can see how I get there.
Cool, yeah.
But when a girl does that bit, it just becomes like, there's like, oh, she's just trying too hard.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shitty thing that happens to female comics. But Sarah's
one of those. She can flip it on anyone.
It's a bait. She has this one joke. I can't remember. Oh my god, what was it? I got raped by a doctor, which is just so bittersweet for a Jewish girl. Like that, like those little one-liner misdirects, like,
and it's like if you hear, and it's like you literally, if you know Sarah Silverman, you immediately hear it in her voice.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, and like there's only things that she, I've heard
that one joke where she's like, I went downstairs and I saw my mom leaning over the sink licking jelly off of a knife.
Like,
she turned to me at 3 a.m. and said, "You should really try this on a dick."
Like, you're like,
and it's stupid. Like, it's so bizarre, and it's like, I don't know. I love it. So
but it's Sarah Silverman.
It's like, but even in like every comedian will tell you, if a comedian tells you that Sarah Silverman isn't funny, that guy's a hack.
Oh, without a doubt, she is as goat can be in the comedy game.
I mean, for a girl, but like,
for a girl, yeah, for sure. I'll give you 2 more, and we'll get off this because he literally made it's like 30, 40
screenshot
people.
for the thumbnail. Use this one. I look yacked right now for some reason. I don't know why.
I done and done.
It's probably just the whiskey. I got the lean out, and I'm like, all right, yeah.
Like, I'm in here. I'm in it. George Carlin.
Interesting. So, there's no arguments that he's the best, but he did accidentally do something that's fucking a lot of people up. He is so good. Like, he was one of these first guys that kind of mixed a TED Talk and a comedy show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that, like, the dirty words bit, like all this stuff. Like, he was definitely a pioneer, but he was so prolific. Like, he would put out a comedy special every year just because that's how his brain worked. But since he was one of the first comedians that was picked up by Showtime and stuff like that, so like before that, the only way to come to success was, Carlin. So you go up, or you'd be on the Tonight Show or something like that, and you'd get booked stuff, and you could work in clubs throughout the world, or throughout in the US at least.
Right.
And then when HBO happened and stuff started going out, and Carlin was right there at the precipice, he put out a special every year, and it was so good for like 6 years. And then obviously, like, he just got older, like, and there were still great bits in those later specials, but that's an impossible metric to hit for a lot of comedians. And here's why. So a lot of times, like, a comedian will work hard, and they'll work hard for like 10 years, and they'll finally get their special. That first hour special for a lot of comics is the best of their whole life. It's 10 years of work put into 1 hour. So like crowd work, all these skills and stuff like that, and writing, and they're putting the best of the best shit in there. And that first hour is a killer. And then they get a deal, and then it's like, oh, now you're famous, and now you have all this money, and you can do whatever you want. And then they go, okay, we need another one in 12 months.
Oh.
So not only are you now having to write, but now bad shit isn't happening to you.
No, you're not going through the same
money.
stuff. Yeah.
Now you have things, and now it's like a lot of movies, they'll try to get away with old shit, or they'll get away with like that first 15 kind of 10-minute window that you get if you're already famous at a club. Like famous people get 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes, and then you really have to be funny, or they'll turn on you. So it's the big stumbling block for a lot of people is they'll get that first special, and then a lot of the times I like to think, not that I like to think, but I just think that because of Carlin, there is this expectation that
you should be able to churn out,
like you should be able to churn out an hour a year. And an hour of comedy, like I've been doing comedy for 4 years, and if I put all of my best shit together, I'd probably have about an hour and 45 minutes.
Jeez.
And but that's because you're still figuring out things about how to make it work, and there's a lot of jokes that got abandoned, a lot of jokes that got forgotten, but it's an hour and 45. And to expect that out of somebody every year changes the way that you perceive it. So unless you're just prolific, or unless you just write, but it is possible.
Yeah. Well,
comics that do it like Louis C.K. does that.
But at the same time,
like 3 or 4 years.
A lot of these guys, I mean, they're older. They've lived a long life up to this point. Therefore, you have quite a bit of life experience, quite a bit of material that can be acquired from those life experiences.
But you'll see a young comic get thrown in with a killer special, and then a year later, you're like, oh, he's hacked now. I'm like, no, he just ran out of shit to talk about.
He hasn't lived life. Like, come back to him in another 10 years.
Yeah,
he's gonna have some fire for you.
Calm down. To be fair, Pete Davidson sucks, but
I get
it. He's cute. He's not a comic.
That dude is not funny.
No, I'm kidding. You know what?
No, you're not. You're spot on.
If he's capable of doing, I'm not one to say. If I've never seen him live, if he is capable of engaging and holding an audience for an hour, he's done his job, in my opinion. But
that dude lost me. He lost me after 10 minutes with his special.
Just a lot of ums and a lot of
like you gotta go, man. Like I was not. He got 10 minutes out of me. I was like, I got to turn this off. Yeah. I'll come back for the rest of it. At the give him 30 minutes.
Yeah,
He's an opener.
Just, we get it. Your dad died.
At the beginning, like at the very best, I'll give Pete Davidson's a good opener for somebody great. But giving him his own comedy special, get out of here, guy. You're
it's like a lot of times people are like, everybody has a special now. But all right, so that's. What's that? Do we have another name?
Well, last name. I'm skipping him. Okay, I will go with this one because man, I really over the last 5 years I've really come to I'm adding this guy to the list because I've actually come to really appreciate this guy, Bill Burr.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think Chappelle's great. I don't, but that's, I think Chris Rock's great. I think Kevin Hart, I think he's all right. I think Seinfeld is, I like Seinfeld better as a stand-up comedian than I did, as a sitcom actor. But Bill Burr has been crushing it in my brain here lately. In lately 5 years. I don't understand how I've listened to this guy over and over and over, and I never gave him the credit that I guess I'm giving him now. And maybe because I just went on this Bill Burr crushing heckler spree, just watching him crush hecklers.
That Philadelphia video is epic.
Oh man, and it really makes me appreciate the.
So I've bombed before, and when you bomb in front of crowds and you can make that crowd laugh about how hard you're roasting them. Like when a crowd really sucks, and I've only had this a few times. Like the crowd, it's like what is 2:30 in the morning, half of them are on blow, like they want attention.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're on stage or if you're doing well, they want spotlight.
Yes.
So it becomes a heckling thing. And if you can turn that and just roast them so hard that they never want to speak in public again. And it's one of my favorite things to, like, oh, please heckle me at a show. I'm kidding. Don't do it. It's very unprofessional. But if you happen to, I am prepared. Like it's not even that it's a prepackaged statement or anything like that. This from years of sports teams and hanging around people. I'm ready to dismantle you. And I'll apologize after and I'll get you a drink. But when I'm on that stage and I'm doing my time, if you interrupt, I will light a fire on you.
Listen,
and
at that point,
I'll help you put it out, and then I'll pour napalm on it.
I mean, because I feel like at that point,
you've made it.
They've literally made it their mission to become part of the show. No one came to watch you. So now
I'll do it like this. I'll go, okay, you got your idea. The attention is now on you. Is this what you wanted? And then I just dump, fill and just break them apart. It's one of the most infuriating and cathartic experiences that you could ever because you know that it's bad and you're not supposed to treat people like this. All the stuff I was saying, you're like, treat others as if it's you, they think a different life. And in the meantime, I'm just dumping.
Unless they heckle you.
And but then I'll still apologize to them afterwards, like, because my job then is to get them back into the show. So I need to make an example of you in a very biblical way. But in a way that is going to be like, oh, never try that again. I can now get back into it. And and they are still in my kind of wavelength.
Right.
I can go into my material. I can have fun. And it's a necessary thing. And it's not good to do. And I love doing it.
This is, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is why I have to have you on the podcast right here. All right, and my last thing for you, man. I mean, it's super general, dude. Your Mount Rushmore.
Thing? I'm not prepared. What am
I? No, we'll do the Mount Rushmore. We won't even worry about the song.
What is my Mount Rushmore?
Who is on your Mount Rushmore? And it doesn't have to be. It hasn't be comedy. It doesn't have to be sports. It's just who would be on your personal
Mount Rushmore?
Who would be on your personal Mount Rushmore? Yeah.
Dylan Moran. He's an Irish stand-up comedian. He's lesser known, but for horrible, like people don't know about him. But he's one of the best comedy writers I've ever seen. The way that he connects with an audience, the way that he conveys emotion. This is just people who have impacted me personally. All of these people obviously have flaws. Seneca is on there. Dylan Moran, Seneca. This is a weird Rushmore. There's two more, so there's 4 on Rushmore, right?
Right. So I'm hitting you with I had to hit you with the hard one. So everyone thinks everyone has a Rushmore till they realize, like, oh, wait a minute.
Well, it's for different reasons. So I'm deciding whether or not I want to pull from different aspects of my life. I think, Cesar Gracie's an interesting guy. I think like Elio Gracie probably.
Elio Gracie.
Elio, Helio. The way that he perceived the world, and also like with kindness, and the way that he developed this craft of jiu-jitsu. It's interesting because it's like his ego is non-existent, and he seeded this, internationally renowned thing, and actually understood both movement and the body and tension and all of these things. It's incredible. And then I think probably Dane Cook.
Dane Cook.
All right, whatever. I'll put one on for the hipsters. Kerouac. Because so like that like on the road, it's used in a lot of tropes. Like people are, oh, he thinks it's cool because he listened to Kerouac, but like he's a lot like me in that he was a road dog and he just found himself in all of these bizarre situations with people. Like what all that book is him living life and finding these people out on the extremities, out on these borders and weird subsects of life, and then drawing essence from them and figuring out how they see and perceive the world, and then viewing your world differently after. So he was one of those first people that I realized that like On the Road was a gruff example of how journalism really should be.
Oh man.
So I love that and I respect that.
That's what's up, man. Dude, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time, man, just to sit and chit chat with me. You know, I know you got pressing biz and everything going on later on tonight. And
tonight I'm going to a weird house in the Hollywood Hills where we're eating sushi and telling jokes.
That's
so it's like it's just a bunch of it's weird. LA people are weird though. A lot of them are gonna be all fucked up in like
why maybe everything you
plastic surgery.
Everything you say is gonna hit. So you know what I mean? So
I have this stupid joke I'm working that I'll probably do tonight. It's like I talk about like girls and how if a girl shows up at a party and they're wearing the same outfit, that's embarrassing. Like I've seen that happen with girls before, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like,
without a doubt.
Oh, she's wearing the same thing. I saw a really extreme example of it here. It's the only time I saw it. And I saw these two women and they accidentally bought the same, they walked past each other and they realized that they had accidentally both bought the same face. and it was tough because
dude, you're going to hurt someone's feelings, dude, at this party. I'm telling you that right.
Really will.
That's gonna hurt.
It's who they are. Like when I was doing video production work in San Francisco, like someone offered me like for about 3 months, I was doing these like just for extra money, like part-time gigs where I was doing video editing for a one of those spas where they do all the Botox and shit.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's such a weird world.
Like, look, oh my God.
It's literally it's a neurotoxin, and the word toxin is in it.
Here's the thing. I wish you could record that moment because there's going to be at least 2 ladies in that room. They're going to look identical.
If I do a show, I'll record them now.
Oh my God.
So I'm building up material. Like right now, I told you it's like I'm not big on posting my actual stuff anywhere.
That's gonna be a moment.
I want to have a point where it's like when I guess my first special hits or something like that. Then I want to have this enormous back catalog of shit. So like right now, if you follow my Instagram, it'll be some funny stuff. Just my stories through the day are funny, I guess. Like me doing like comic shit.
Right.
As far as like see my material, you gotta see me live, or once I get that full hour deal, I'm just gonna start dumping stuff. So I just have years and years of this stuff back catalog, but I am such a needy little bitch about wanting everything to be right.
Listen, you know what you want, and I mean, I feel like at this point, why not? You put in the work, you put in the time. You know what I mean?
It's fun now. So now I'm opening for big guys, and it's like I'm doing shows with people that I've only ever seen on TV and stuff. People I've been following forever, and it's surreal. Right. But at the same time, I know that if I'm funny in the room and I do my job, it's gonna work out. So
without a doubt. This
stuff coming out. So I have a new show, for your people. I just partnered with this bong company. They make glassware.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah, it's called Renegade Glass, and I'm doing a weekly show with them called the Renegades of the Week, where I bring on a guest, and then we smoke weed, and then I try to talk to them, like teach them history.
Listen, man.
It's like, so I'll bring on like a famous person. Like I had Noman Hosny, a very successful French comedian, on last week. This week I had a world-renowned magician And we smoke weed. I try to teach him about history, and then we hang out and talk out. So it's called Renegades of the Week. That's really one of the only things I'm doing now to put out any kind of comedy related stuff. Obviously, if you live in the Los Angeles area, I post stuff on Instagram about my shows. A lot of times, because of COVID right now, they are private functions, and they do have an invitation cap, so I can only bring 60 people into a show at a time. So if you see one of my show postings on Instagram, hit me up. I'll send you a ticket link.
For sure. I'll make sure that I get
it's hard right
information
now.
up. Oh, yeah. I'll make sure that I get all your information up so people can check you out, man. Like I said, brother, I am forever in your debt for this, man. I hopefully, you don't get too big to where I can't bring you back and
I'll always come back to hang out with you, man.
Yeah, get some updates on the big shows, man. Just save me a ticket in the arena. So I can say, I know this guy. Sir, but you gotta get away from the stage. No, but I know him. No, but you need to back away from the stage. But I know, you know what? Don't worry about it. But yeah, man, Nathan, I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to let me just grill you on the finer arts of
it's about to become so unsexy. Like, you're like, he's about to go do that. I'm about to just go do laundry so I have people clothes for tonight because it's all athletic shit.
That's all I wear, man. I have dyed sheet.
But that's the problem. Like, I'm doing these fucking shows, and people are like, "Why are you wearing like?" I'm just wearing like a Rogue Fitness shirt and shit. I'm not expecting like people to bring me in for these things, and I'm just wearing the shit I normally wear. Like,
right.
That's not right. I'm wearing like powerlifting gear. Like, I'm wearing like Mark Bell stuff.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
It's just what I have. I have this huge collection of just T-shirts.
Like, did you come for the decor? Did you come for the comedy? Which one?
Absolutely.
So, man, but I appreciate you, brother. If you need anything from me, you know where I'm at. I appreciate you yet again. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the man, the myth, the legend, Nathan Lowe. I appreciate you, brother. Have a great day, bro.
You too, man.
Hey, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Mainly subscribe, and then share it. Got it? Peace. What's up, people? LS here. I'm sitting thinking to myself, there's some people out there that want to get stronger. They want to work on their swag. They just want to feel better. I have that solution. I'm messing. Listen, you can go to lsmcclain.com, my website, and you can get programming if you want to get stronger. You can go to my store and get swag. So you can get both of those things. Your self-esteem is going to go through the roof. All you got to do is go to lsmcclain.com. It literally has everything you need. I mean, I think I might even have a link to some dating websites. I'm not sure. I might be able to help you find the love of your life. Either way, go to lsmcclain.com. How's that? You know what? lsmcclain.com. Go there. Love you. Peace.